Mario has a variety of games, yeah? There's a lot to choose from, but the ones that a lot of people like to remember are the platformers, maybe the 2D and the 3D ones. Most people have played at least one of these games, regardless of the dimension, and if we're just talking strictly about the 2D platformers, then one of the most iconic ones would be I'm sure literally anyone who owned the DS back in the day has played this game. It was one of the killer apps of the handheld, if you ask me. New Super Mario Bros., as the title implies, was a new Mario game, like the original Super Mario Bros. Back in the NES. Despite the title though, there wasn't really anything new about the game per se, but the last 2D Mario game when this game came out was Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo. This game was so successful that it spawned 4 titles on 4 different consoles, though by the 3rd title everyone was getting tired of the series as a whole. But the first 2 titles on the DS and Wii seem to be finally remembered by most, and seeing as I pretty much played all 4 titles growing up, why not look at them and see if they hold up in this day and age, starting all the way with the DS title back in 2006. It really has been that long? Jeez.
Huh?
And that's the entire plot. No, seriously, that's it. Princess kidnapped, complete 8 worlds to save her, and that's it. The only real change here is that Bowser Jr. is the one to kidnap her rather than Bowser himself, but it's not like Bowser is absent in the game, so... Let's talk about that gameplay, yeah?
Dude.
Bro, just let me take over at this point.
That blunder aside, New Super Mario DS is a very simple game. As I said before, it's pretty much the same as Mario's 2D adventure prior. You travel to 8 worlds, each of them having their own set of levels. In these levels, the goal is simple: get to the end of the level within the time limit. While it's a very simple goal, it helps that the levels are designed well enough that they're fun to play through, some even throwing gimmicks to keep you on your toes. Helping the gameplay are the controls. New Super Mario Bros. DS was the first 2D Mario game to implement additions from Mario 64's moveset. These make the game a dream to control, and it's hard for me to go back to the earlier games because of these changes. But in terms of these changes, there's not much else really to say, other than each world has basically the same structure. Play levels, play a tower with a stupidly easy Bowser Jr. boss, then play some more levels, stupidly easy boss in the castle. Some of these bosses are cool in concept, but aside from that they're still not very hard. But there are some new changes, not to undermine the name, the big one being the power-ups. You've got your standard mushroom that lets you tank a hit, a fire flower that lets you throw fireballs, useful for taking care of enemies at a distance, but there's also 3 new additions. And they all stink. First, you've got the Mega Mushroom, which turns you big and gives you the ability to body anything for a few seconds. It's not bad for sure, but the only real reason that I ever use this is to get a bunch of lives, as seen by the bar above. It's pretty much nothing above a gimmick, but it's nothing bad. Now these 2 on the other hand can eat my ass. First is the blue shell, which in concept isn't exactly a bad idea. It gives Mario a Koopa shell, and it makes underwater sections not a total pain. The one major flaw is that it'll automatically put you into shell mode whenever you pick up speed, and it can often result in ricocheting all over the place like a pinball. And then finally, we have the mini mushroom. As the name implies, this power makes you tiny, and it makes you a literal glass tank, but you can walk on water and jump high. Now, I don't know about anyone else, but I can't stand how this power-up controls. It's always just too floaty for me, and it's just not worth the trade-off to me. And the worst part about this power-up is that star coins and even whole worlds are locked behind it. Which reminds me, another cool thing about New Super Mario Bros. DS is that the world map is actually somewhat interactive. While it's definitely still basic, it's much better than a static map, and it's also where star coins come to play. Where to hit up these levels, there are 3 star coins that are scattered around them, hitting pretty well in most cases. While you only want to collect all of them for completionist sakes, you can also spend them on toad houses around the world map, which is more of a way to get extra lives or store item in your slot. But if there's one thing that New Super Mario Bros. DS does differently, it's how it handles worlds. The map does say there's 8, but don't let that fool you. You only have to go through 6 if you're just trying to beat the game. See, worlds 4 and 7 are completely optional, and you don't even have to do them to beat the game. The only way you can even access them normally is by beating the bosses in world 2 and 5 with the mini mushroom. Can you tell I never got to these worlds as a kid? Personal gripes aside, it's still a neat thing really, and I find it cool that there's more incentive to replay the game after beating the first 6 worlds, since otherwise, this game isn't a really long adventure. But it's a fun, simple one. But in all, you get a pretty good single player that you'll get a good few hours out of, going for all the worlds or not. You even get Luigi after beating the main campaign. While he's a lame reskin, it's a nice thing really. But what if I told you, there's more to do after the single player? So this game not only has a single player mode, but also has a multiplayer versus mode. It's only 2 players, but I remember doing this mode so much with my brother when I was younger. God, download play was such a godsend. Anywho, this mode basically pits 2 players controlling either Mario or Luigi. The goal is basically to collect whatever amount of stars is set before the other player. All the rules from the single player mode apply, but you can actively harm your opponent to get their stars, either by using power-ups, jumping on them, etc. It's a really fun mode, and I can only imagine how much more fun this would be with online with more people and more maps to play on. There's probably a good chunk of people who play this mode more than the main game itself, and who could blame them? This mode was practically an amazing time waster. These minigames were actually put from Super Mario 64 DS and added on to this game. All of these use the touchscreen heavily, and they're really fun. Granted, you're playing on actual hardware and not an emulator. There's a lot of variety to keep you going, and most of these encourage players to beat your high score over and over. There's a lot I like in this list, but the ones I remember the most were the table section. I'm pretty sure this minigame alone is responsible for giving multiple children gambling addictions. I would know, I would witness it happen. Thanks, Luigi. But that's not even all. These minigames also had multiplayer thanks to download play along with the versus mode. But unlike versus mode, this is up to 4 players. This also used to be such a fun pastime with friends. Since only one guy needed to get it running, it was a great candidate for games to play. Yeah, I'll keep on preaching DS download play until I die. What about it? Graphically, New Super Mario Bros. DS looks alright. It's nothing bad really. It goes for this weird hybrid where some things are 2D sprites and some things are full on 3D models. And it doesn't look terrible, nor does it clash too hard. It's just, I'm not personally keen on this style. I would prefer to just went a full on 2D or 3D, but there's much worse you can go with this type of direction. The environments do look nice though, even if a bit generic. It makes for some nice looking backgrounds, mainly in the world maps if you ask me. Otherwise, there's not really to say anything beyond that. What I said about the graphics earlier can pretty much apply to the music in this game as well. It's nothing too bad, but it's nothing too great either. Though, there are a few tricks I like here and there. But that could be the nostalgia speaking, probably. Other than that, there's not much to say about the music in this game other than that it gets the job done with a few banger tracks here and there. And that's New Super Mario Bros. DS. For the first game in the series and for the first 2D Mario platformer in a while, it makes sense why it's a bit generic and simplistic. There's nothing really unique about this game, especially with how all the other Marios exist now, but I feel like the simplistic nature of this game has been coming back every now and then. The great controls, the cheery vibe of the music and the graphics, the mini games. What's not to like about this one? It might not be everyone's cup of tea, but New Super Mario Bros. DS to me is simplicity at its best.
It's because of the mini games, isn't it?
Before I go, I'd like to announce that we also have a Discord server now, so if you would like to join for updates, just to talk, and maybe even game a few times, then feel free to join. See ya!